Hi, I'm Matt Hale, Vice Chair of the National Parents Organization, and I'd like to talk for a few minutes about Kentucky's first in the country shared parenting presumption law, House Bill 528 in 2018, passed the House unanimous 81-2 and the Senate unanimous. It was so popular that when we did polling on it, it was favored by a factor of 6-1 by the people who were polled. This is the first and only time so far that the National Parents Organization has pulled a shared parenting law that is not hypothetical. It's an actual law that's passed. So we were very excited about those results. But there are other results that are very exciting about all of this. One of them is that the governor of Kentucky, Matt Bevin at the time, he was very excited about signing the law. And at the ceremonial signing, he called it an honor to sign Kentucky's shared parenting bill. And we also saw him sign something else that was very fun. I asked him at the time to come up with to follow up on a little idea I had and proclaim the day that he signed the law, Shared Parenting Day. And he did. So Kentucky was the first to also have Shared Parenting Day, April 26th. So that was another example of just how popular the law was. We also saw the re-election results of the lawmakers who voted for or against the bill. Again, it was very popular, so in the Senate, there wasn't anyone against it. But in the House, there was. But let's take a step back and talk about the sponsors. The sponsors of Kentucky's shared parenting law were reelected at a rate of 100%. People who voted yes were reelected at a 90% clip, and people that abstained were reelected at an 80% clip. There were only 2 votes against Kentucky's shared parenting law, and one of them ran for election uncontested. The other one, Linda Belcher, had won previously by 37 points, and after voting against the shared parenting law, she lost by 20 points. So it was a 57-point swing. We've also seen domestic violence changes in Kentucky since the law passed. The year before, Kentucky passed a temporary shared parenting law in 2017. So let's talk about 2016 to 2017. And at that time, before any temporary or permanent law, shared parenting law took effect, Kentucky's domestic violence rate rose slightly. After the temporary shared parenting law took effect, cases declined. Domestic violence cases declined by over 200. And then in 2018, when the full permanent custody law took effect, we saw domestic violence cases drop by over 400 more cases. So it was quite a change. We also had, at the time, a shelter director, Shelter of Hope in Ashland, Kentucky. She mentioned in an article that she had also noticed that there were fewer people who were checking into her shelter that were victims of domestic violence who had children. She said it had gone from over half to about a third. We also saw in Kentucky, another administrative office of the courts report showed that overall caseloads had done the exact same thing as the domestic violence cases, and that is they had been rising in 2016, and then they started dropping after the temporary law took effect. And then they dropped again when the permanent law took effect. And after the permit law took effect, there were over 3,000 less cases in Kentucky. And we think that that's because families who are under less pressure to fight in a winner-take-all, loser-lose-all situation for their children are less likely to be pushed over the edge and end up getting divorced. Some of those families would be able to make it and survive long-term if the child custody laws weren't so confrontational. We have one other point of reference on Kentucky's law, which I think is very telling, and that is we have a Department of Health and Human Services report that we've reviewed, and we compared Kentucky to the neighboring state of Ohio, a non-shared parenting state. And in that we see that Kentucky's child abuse cases dropped, and Ohio's did too, but very marginally. Ohio's cases dropped during this period by 1.8%. And we also have a cross matrix where we know the counties where that small reduction happened are the counties that had better shared parenting laws. Ohio is unique in that it does its child custody laws more of a county focus. However, in Kentucky, the cases didn't drop by 1.8%. They dropped by 30.9%, a remarkable drop-off in child abuse claims in Kentucky after Kentucky shared parenting law was passed. So we've seen that the law is popular, it's helped divorcing families, it's helped children, and we knew that it would pass and then go on and help other states. And we've now seen 4 other states pass shared parenting presumption laws since Kentucky, and I believe there'll be quite a few more.